Hey guys, I've got a really fun one for you today. We're going to be playing Ranked, of course. This is the game mode where we get to push in and brawl a little easier, which I, of course, enjoy a lot. And we're playing the Lenin, something I don't play particularly often on this channel, but I did get a request for this one to push the W key only. And that's what we're going to do today. We're actually going to get a Kraken in this one in less than 5 minutes of actual shooting, that is. Before we get into things though, what is a Lenin? You probably don't see this thing all that often. It is the premium tier 8 Russian battleship, and unlike the Vladivostok, it retains the original dispersion of the Russian lines. So before it got nerfed a little bit, the Russian ships were pretty insane on release. Kremlin, of course, got a pretty big hit to not only its AA mount survivability, but also its guns. Its shells got changed, and the dispersion was a little bit worse now. But Lenin retains that original accuracy, and we're going to make good use of that today. It also has a different turret layout and a very tiny superstructure, making this ship just ridiculously tanky. You can just kind of bow tank so many ships and live to tell the tale. It's a little ridiculous. In this one though, the tactic really comes down to focusing priority targets first. Always we're doing that in ranked battles. The goal is to win. I'm always going to try and shoot at DDs or cruisers first, even if there are battleships available to shoot at here. So I was waiting, and now we take a shot at this San Diego. Still doing that single fire thing. I do think it's a little more consistent, and we do manage to grab ourselves 2 Citadels. The only 2 shells that hit were Citadels. Kind of ridiculous, but we got a W key in some more. There's a submarine, fortunately, in the middle of the map, not going to run into him if we go play this flank, which is going to be really, really nice for us. And as much as I would like to shoot this Bismarck here, we do have to finish off at this San Diego. Maybe the other San Diego would have been a decent option as well, but I do want to focus targets out early on. That way our pushing is going to go a little bit easier. There we go, managing to get ourselves a first blood, very nice. And unfortunate for us, but our split, I think, is going to go down in this one. Pushed a little too aggressive, maybe. Unfortunately, we couldn't help him out any more than that. But we do have to worry about this sub now, as well as a potential Kagero on this flank. If he's going to be sending torps this way, since we are the ones pushing, the rest of our team is going to be, you know, playing a little more sensibly behind islands, being a little more cautious before pushing into a sub and potential DD torps, that kind of thing. We probably will be the target of priority. You always have to expect that when you are pushing in. We also want to get this heal buff. In ranked, we do have some arms race options, so we do want to find these good buffs, and just look at that dispersion. There you go. That is the benefit of the Lenin, I guess. 7 full pens, and we hit 8 out of 9 shells there. And yeah, the armor is just ridiculous, so the Bismarck simply bounces off of us. Kind of ridiculous. We also have the fast cooldown damage controls in this ship. Lenin's just a bit of a beast at tier 8. If you see yourself in a tier 8 clan battle season, you're probably going to see a lot of these Russian battleships just sit bow in, and they're basically impossible to kill. So taking them into the ranked mode is a pretty good idea. Personally, I do enjoy Massachusetts a little more, thanks to the secondary brawly nature of it. But Lenin's a pretty good time as well. San Diego does get away with a turnout there, but considering yesterday's video and how I managed to get away with one fairly similarly, there was actually, it was a Lenin? Either a Lenin or a Vladivostok, and I was in a San Diego. Flat broadside, close range, and I took 0 damage. So I guess it all comes full circle, right? We do need to finish this Bismarck off though first, since we are about to enter a crossfire that Kagero was talking about. Is very nearby on the other side of this island, and torpedoes are a great way to lose a lot of HP in something like the Lenin. That's one of the main benefits that a lot of these German battleships are going to have over a Russian or some of these American battleships, is having that hydro. It's very useful when you're pushing in. As much as I am annoyed by the lack of armor on those German ships, specifically the superstructure, letting you take just massive hits at any angle, the hydros are pretty useful. And we got to worry about this Kagero. We do manage to take out the San Diego. That is 3 so far. And this Kagero here, I am being a little greedy in going this broadside, but I do want to get all my guns off on this guy. I want to make sure I take him out, since there are times where dispersion can say no a little bit. We will have the opportunity to airstrike this sub. He's pretty low. We do kill the Kagero, turn into the Torps, of course. And if our ASWs hit, that might just be our Kraken right there. Unfortunately for us, the Baltimores hit just before ours, so we don't quite get all 6 kills in this one. But there is still a North Carolina to deal with.
Problem solved, sir.
Yeah, we were pretty much just a wrecking crew in this game. There's really not much to it other than W key in, and everything kind of just went our way in this one. I ain't gonna lie, not having the sub right in front of us or DD on our flank torping us consistently, it helped us out a lot. This one is not as much a, hey, maybe learn something from this one. This is more just a entertaining one, I think. Very fun to play ranked though, and maybe a good opportunity for you to jump into the ranked queue. And even if you don't have yourself a Lenin, a Vladivostok can do most of what this is gonna do. The dispersion might be a little bit worse at times, but the Vladi does have a little more HP to tank, which is quite nice. And there we go. 4 minutes, 40 seconds, and a Kraken. Nearly all 6, actually. I don't think I've ever done that before, killed everyone on the enemy team in ranked. We got very, very close to it in this one. That's going to get us closer and closer to that rank 1. Looking forward to getting to Silver League. That way I can start to play some of these tier 9s. You know how much I enjoyed that Mogador last season. We had tier 9s. And yeah, just a ridiculous amount of base XP since we did kind of just walk all over the enemy team there. As for the build on the Lenin, I was using Kuznetsov since it's just so difficult to take this thing out with the Kuznetsov buff right at the end there, giving us a ridiculous heal and damage control and worse dispersion to shells fired at our ship when our HP drops to a critical level. Very, very strong thing on battleships especially. It can work on some of the cruisers and DDs, of course, but on a ship this tanky, it is just ridiculous. Fire prevention, of course. We're also running emergency repair expert here. And I decided to go close quarters combat, not because the secondaries are any good, simply because I wanted to get as close range as possible, and having a little extra DPM would have been nice. Our reload here is 33 seconds. It's a little longer than the standard 30 seconds you'd see at other tier 8 battleships with 406mm guns. I'm also taking improved repair party readiness over basic survivability. I think we're going to get a ton of potential damage in this thing, and getting to those heals a little quicker is quite nice. That said, this is not an optimal build, especially for randoms. I would definitely be taking basic survivability in randoms, and of course concealment. Just do the standard 3 skills here, these 2 here, and then it's up to you if you want grease the gears or vigilance, that kind of thing. The ship is a very AP focused ship, so not really worth going gun feeder. You might consider actually going preventive maintenance, since I did notice a turret got knocked out there briefly, as well on the upgrades here. Very standard as well. Other than the damage control system mod 2, a lot of the Russian battleships have very good acceleration, and you can improve that even further, and you become very, very difficult to hit bow in if you just speed juke back and forth. It is pretty obnoxious, actually, what these things can do. And sure, you're going to eat more fire damage, but that's what these fast-acting damage control teams are for. So it's not much of a downside. In fact, a lot of times this makes you even tankier yet. So a very, very strong ship that works very, very well in ranked and in a lot of situations. It will struggle sometimes in full up tiers. You don't quite have the best range on this thing. But the armor here is very, very nice, as you can see. And just look at how tiny that superstructure is. Reminds me of some of the lower tier battleships that are very difficult to farm out for HE spammers, since there's very little to hit. And that is pretty true here on the Lenin. Unless you can get through 45 mil with your HE, which there's a few higher tier cruisers that can do that, but not a lot of them at tier 8. That said, you do need to remain angled in this thing. If you do find one of these in your ranked games and it's kind of ripping your team apart, if you can find its broadside, this is a very vulnerable broadside, so you should be able to do some pretty massive damage to it. And even if it's angled enough to shoot all of its guns, you should be able to cheek it a little bit here as well, since the angling isn't all that great on this armor piece here. So you just aim right here, and you should be able to get some citadels in as well. Something to worry about, but really not a lot of weaknesses to this thing. But a very fun game to just full send it in and see what happens. And things seem to roll our way in this one. So I hope you had a good time watching this one. It was very, very fun to play. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.